Then COVID hit, and we just closed the doors here for 2 years. I wouldn't even open the door and come in. It just was so sad to me. So we just maintained what we had, which, it was a real struggle, but we got through it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvinois. So today I am back in Grand Rapids. The more time I spend here, the more I love this place. And I read an article recently about Grand Rapids actually kind of being the culinary hub of Michigan, and I'm beginning to agree with that. So today, to help guide us through this here, I have Cindy Schneider. She's the owner of Beacon Corner Bar in Grand Rapids. Cindy, how are you?
I'm great today. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, thanks for having us here today. Appreciate it. So why don't you tell us, what is Beacon Corner Bar?
Well, Beacon Corner Bar is a downtown Grand Rapids culinary experience. The idea was to bring seafood primarily, or coastal fare is what we shot for, to the Grand Rapids area in a casual setting. So it's not like you need to have white linens and the piece of walleye fish presented to you.
You don't need a three-piece suit.
You don't need it. You can come. We're very casual. Things, food is food. It's always been a little bit of our philosophy here. Like, you don't need extraordinary things. You just need an amazing dish to excite people and to stick it in their memories. So we're right here 2 blocks from Van Andel Arena, and our sister restaurant over here, well, it's more like our mother because it's been there for 31 years, is Sanchez, and Sanchez is more of a 2-hour dining experience. And we felt we were missing out on a lot of people that were going to shows or to sporting events. So we decided to take this beautiful piece of property here and turn it into a restaurant and call it Beacon Corner Bar. And that's what we do. We have smash burgers here. We have boils, seafood boils. We have sandwiches. We have lobster rolls. We have steaks. We have all kinds of wonderful culinary dishes from some amazing chefs that put things together for us. And of course, an amazing bar. And here you sit here and you look over one of the busiest little areas of downtown Grand Rapids. And that's what Beacon Corner Bar is.
Nice. And I got to tell you, this location it's beautiful. I thoroughly enjoy when I was driving down here, I thoroughly enjoyed the trek.
Yeah.
Because there's so many beautiful buildings down here, and the murals.
Yeah, the murals.
The murals are just absolutely incredible. I absolutely love them. Tell us a little bit about where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Yep. I grew up in Long Island in West Sayville. That's where the coastal part of it comes from. So most of my neighbors at the time were clammers. So the little neck clams is what everyone was living off of back then. So I lived about 2 blocks from the bay, which, of course, across from that was Fire Island and then the ocean. And so I grew up, instead of like most Michiganders having a burger fry or a hot dog fry on the weekends, I grew up with clam bakes. So
seafood's in your blood.
It is. It's always been in my blood. It's always been casual. So, and then now when you just think, oh, I want a nice piece of fish or, some oysters, it's unfortunate that you just have choices that, take quite a bit of your paycheck away from you. I don't feel that way. I just always felt like, we've come so far with seafood. It used to be how fresh is it, but all seafood has really enhanced and is cryovac and frozen quickly. So you can get a fresh flavor of fish or seafood pretty much in most restaurants that are like this, that are focusing on a good quality piece of meat. Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So at what age did you get bit by the restaurant bug?
I put myself through college. I studied to have a teaching degree.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yep, I'm a Grand Valley grad. Yeah, and then when it came time to do my student teaching and get that part of it done, I was already a general manager in a restaurant. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've always been in the restaurant business, always from city to state. And I always say, I guess I wasn't geared to teach history. I was geared to teach hospitality. That's kind of how I figured it out. So I teach hospitality. I do my very best. We're very, very focused on service here, and of course, good quality food. But
So why did you decide to study teaching then?
why did I? I don't know. I don't think back then I really had much of a choice of. I don't know. I've always loved teaching.
Right.
I always have. I've always been inspired by minds that don't know anything. I mean, most of the students that come here and the young people that work for us here really were raised on ramen noodles. So, when you say,
I was one of those kids.
Yeah. So when you say, here, have this seared tuna or try this oyster, what? They're just like, no way. But they try it. So it's opening their minds to a lot of education that in the hospitality culinary field that
And new experiences.
Yeah.
Love it.
And they don't forget it. You don't forget things you taste, right?
No, you don't. That's for sure. I'm a huge seafood nut.
Yeah, you're
so,
good. Yeah.
This works out really well. So you were telling me that you were the general manager at a restaurant. What I'd like to do is explore a little bit about how you went from being a general manager in a restaurant to now opening your own restaurant. Talk to us about that journey.
So in 92, the downtown area was starting to pick up little tiny new adventures. So really this town was still pretty quiet in 92. I mean, I always try to explain to people that, the handbook that we created, I'm getting ahead of myself, but used to say that no woman was allowed to walk to her car by herself after her shift. She had to have an escort. Well, we had to take that out in 2000 plus because everybody lives around here. So the feel and the culture of the downtown area has definitely changed. So in 92, I was married with 2 children, and there were these signs on this. I've always been downtown working. I worked at the Amway. I worked at Tootsie's. My husband was at Z's, Chop House. So we've always focused on the downtown area. So anyway, I drive by and I see the signs, now hiring for a tapas restaurant. Of course, I had to look tapas up. I didn't know what that was, I hadn't experienced anything like that. Anyway, so I came in and applied, and I was hired, and I connected with the 2 chefs that started this restaurant, which was Dan Gendler and George Sanchez. Sanchez, the word of where Sanchez came from. And they were very young, younger than me. They were culinary chefs. And if you know much about restaurants, chefs don't run good restaurants. It's all there is to it. I don't mean to say anything. They're artistic, they're talented, but they don't know anything about the functions or the finances of a restaurant. So I knew all about that. So they sucked me in, and I built all of their standard, and that's how it happened. I wasn't an owner until 2004. So, and then they bought George Sanchez out, Dan Gendler did, and then Dan himself wanted to go teach up at the Culinary Institute, and they were both graduates of the Culinary Institute. And so he got out and he said, just buy the business from me. So that's what happened. So I bought the business from him in 2014. So it was a longer process, but that's how I got into it, and I owned Sanchez. And then I have 2 sons who went to college. Never thought they'd come back to the restaurant field. My oldest son, Nolan, he was an air traffic controller. And he said,
whoa, there's a difference.
Right? He still directs. But so he said he wanted to come back. So we're like, to Sanchez, So he came back. And then our other son, Drew, he was doing a business degree at Western, and he said he wanted to come back. Well, we were like, well, we need to create more restaurants. So Dan and I spent a lot of time trying to take Sanchez and move that piece to the Detroit area, the east side of the state.
Right.
So many of our comment cards said, please come to Ann Arbor, please come to the east side of the state. We love you. So we took all the information. We're like, let's go to the east side of the state. But Kevin Orr, who was the lawyer that helped get Detroit out of bankruptcy, was my brother's roommate in college, he's like, do it now, get to Detroit. So we really focused on getting to Detroit with just the concept of Sanchez. And that was a disaster. That wasn't a good situation.
Ouch.
So Sam Cummings, who's part of CWD, said, what are you looking in Detroit for? I've got so many buildings here in downtown Grand Rapids. And our thought was, well, we didn't want to create a new concept. We just wanted to write off the one that was doing really well for us. But anyway, so we decided to create another concept so we could split our boys up, to be honest. I don't know if you have a brother or a sister, but you're always so different on different spectrums. Dan and I have traveled a lot, so we were reading a lot through the National Restaurant Association that street food was really becoming popular at the time. So then we opened up Rome by Sanchez over there by DeVos Hall, across from DeVos Hall. So we had that restaurant. And then we always sat on this little corner here, and it's been through a lot of different changes that were ahead of its time. And I think the number one, not problem, but challenge that Beacon Corner Bar has right now is that it sits next to a 31-year-old, very, very popular restaurant that everyone knows. You just say Sanchez, and people's response is, I love Sanchez.
Let's go.
I love Sanchez. Let's go. So it gets really busy over there. Here, it just trickles in. And I'm like, it'll build popularity. It will happen, you know. Good experiences, good food, good service. It'll happen. So this hotel comes in, and at first it was supposed to be like 40 stories, and it shrunk down a little bit. But we were like, oh my goodness, we have a hotel coming in. We're sitting on this amazing real estate over here that we're only using for private events. And so right before COVID, we ripped it all out, got all of our material moving forward. In 2019 was a great year for all of downtown Grand Rapids, great shows, great conventions. We were doing great in sales. And then COVID hit. And so then we just closed the doors here for 2 years. I wouldn't even open the door and come in. It just was so sad to me, you know. So, and then we just maintained what we had, which, you know, it was a real struggle, but we got through it.
Sure.
We're very proud of ourselves.
And I just know this because I read Anthony Bourdain's book. so I'm kind of playing it from memory here.
Yeah.
So you came in and they said, hey, we want you to do this. And you said, okay.
Yeah.
We were talking before about you becoming a teacher. How did you learn those skills to take over the business side of a restaurant?
Well, I did have quite a bit of training. Like I worked for Pietros for a while. So I had a lot of training, let's say, and I worked for Tony Roma's. So I did some corporate restaurants that taught me along the way about how to do it. I had the first food truck in downtown Grand Rapids in the 80s. So I knew and studied a lot about what percentages you run, how to pay your bills, how payroll works. So I learned along the way. And so when I got here in 92, I was like, well, I could just take all these skills and help you out and help you put it together.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And then the next question I got for you would be then is the one owner bought it out from Sanchez.
Yep.
And then convinced you
Yep.
to buy him out.
That is correct.
So then the question I got for you is, what made you think that you could take over ownership of a restaurant completely?
Probably because he was gone for so many years and I was doing it anyway.
There you go. On the job training.
Yeah. So he was up at the Culinary Institute for many years and we never saw him. And I was doing just fine, making all the decisions and paying all the bills and, you know, bidding out insurance. And so I was doing it all. So I was like, I don't know why I'm not doing this just for myself. So that was, you know, like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? You know, it was like one of those. So
for a lot of these chefs that are coming in, you know, they trained, you mentioned the Culinary Institute, CIA, and they go get their training there. Now they come in here, but you've got a restaurant, you've got like a set menu, like
Yep.
this is how we make our food
Yep.
versus them wanting to come in and create all
Yep.
these dishes. So how did you squeeze all that, I guess, like imagination, creativity, or whatever it is to say, okay, this is what you have to follow?
yeah. Well, I mean, there are dishes that are on our menu over at Sanchez anyway, that have been there for 31 years that you don't touch. However, we have a quarterly change that is called our features, and we run them. And you give every opportunity to all the chefs to create a dish. It gets tasted by all managers, the board.
Nice.
It gets approved or not approved. It gets told to go back to the drawing board, tweak this, you're almost there. So we're constantly testing and putting things in the test kitchen. And then we were, since COVID, only doing it twice a year, but now we have a new chef and he's pushing us back to the quarterly. So we're very excited. And we do that here. We do that at all 3 restaurants. We run features. Everybody has the chance to be creative, do their homework, do a little research, come together, create their dish. So
Nice.
And that keeps chefs very happy.
For our audience, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. When we come back, Cindy and I are going to talk a lot more about the Beacon Corner Bar and what you can expect when you come there. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, if you are enjoying these great interviews, just take a moment and go to totalmichigan.com/join, and you can get these episodes sent directly to your inbox because there's a lot more great stories coming. See you there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvenois. Today, we're talking with Cindy Schneider at the Beacon Corner Bar here in Grand Rapids. Now we're going to talk a lot about seafood. So here's the first question for you, because you said this restaurant was based on the concept of seafood. Why seafood? Why not just like a bistro burger place or something like that? Why seafood?
Well, we just really wanted to offer Grand Rapids the opportunity to have it in a casual form. So, and I love seafood. We have quite a different arrangement of different foods. So we do focus on meats and vegetable dishes also. But why seafood? I don't know. I mean, one of our signature dishes is a walleye. And if you've ever followed walleye, it was never conventionally fished. Let's just say that. It was the fish that only fishermen got. And I think it was like maybe 6 or 7 years ago that, well, they got the permission, because I believe it belonged to maybe, I don't know who it belonged to, but somebody owned the rights to walleye. And it is our most wonderful Michigan fish. And so we have Uncle Joe, who is my husband's wife's husband. So he brought walleye fishing to Grand Rapids, or to the Michigan area. So he brought that chapter, and he had an amazing recipe for walleye bites. So walleye bites has been on our menu for the longest time, and people love walleye because it's like coming to Michigan to have Michigan fish, you know.
Certainly.
Like whitefish up north and stuff like that.
The walleye bites. Now, is that an appetizer?
Nope, it's
okay.
It's a full dish, yeah. And so we have like perch, and we didn't know that oysters would be so popular. To be honest, I always thought oysters was just not for everyone, kind of one of those dishes but right now we sell more oysters than any other location in the Grand Rapids area. And so
now when you're talking about oysters, is it the raw oysters?
Raw, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We always have like 4 or 5 different choices. And sometimes they make oysters Rockefeller, sometimes they broil them, but mostly people just come here and enjoy oysters, which I'm so thrilled about. I had no idea it would take off like this. There are certain things that just happened during COVID that, oysters.
Really surprised you.
Yeah. They do like a really great smash burger. They have a great steak on the menu. I have a lot of handhelds. One of the dishes that really became popular here was the lobster roll. And people love lobster rolls.
So then let me ask you this question, because I still want to chase down the seafood angle of it. Because the thing is, like, seafood has a very short shelf life.
Yes, it does.
You know, it's not something that you can just buy it and, we'll pull it out 3 weeks from now and serve it.
Yep.
So going back, I'm thinking about how you got to always have that fresh inventory coming in, because, once it smells.
I know.
So talk to us a little bit about like managing that versus like a hamburger or something.
Yeah. Well, we have 3 deliveries a week for seafood.
Sweet Moses.
Yeah, 3. Mm-hmm. And we also designed the kitchen in the back for having easy accessibility to not only the walk-in but the freezer, so it's like right online. So like if you're familiar with kitchens, restaurant kitchens, often you have to go quite a ways to get to the cooler, the big walk-in cooler. Well, we made it part of the line here, so the fish is always staying either in a frozen state or right out of there ready to eat refrigeration state. So our chefs are very, very cautious about freshness, about the timing of when you can have it and stuff like that. And so they do a really good job with it. So it's always fresh here. Now, seafood boils are something that I grew up with in Long Island, and they're very popular here. So that's basically picking the things that you want in a boil, which consist of like corn, red skinned potatoes. Often it has sausage in it, and then you can add shrimp, crab.
This is where I start getting hungry.
Yeah. And they become very popular, and then we have these significant steamers that are back in the kitchen that I grew up with. They're not around here anywhere. It's hard to explain, but the steam is inside the pocket of these cookers, and so it goes really fast. We use it for almost everything in the seafood, so it doesn't make the seafood overcooked. Like one of the dishes that we have is like clam chowder, which is very popular here, and we have a beautiful base, and then they steam the clams and pop them in there. So instead of getting a clam chowder that's been sitting on the stove all day long and then you're chewy, it's fresh, it's clean, it's nice. So
that is something that I didn't get exposed to until I really started getting into seafood restaurants, and I'm thinking in particular shrimp. If you overcook shrimp, it almost becomes bubblegum.
Exactly.
And it never occurred to me. So when you have a shrimp that's cooked properly, it's almost like melting your mouth.
I know. It is. It's so delicious. And why everybody cooks it, the shrimp are closed. The more they close up, the harder they are to eat. That's the rule. So when a shrimp is open,
something new.
When a shrimp is open like this and you're getting it, it's really good. And then as it overcooks, it continually closes up into an E as opposed to a C. So that's you just got to treat the seafood the right way. So,
certainly.
Yeah. So we have great spirits to go along with everything. We also have a huge list of mocktails, which through dry January is very popular. We started bringing mocktails to our restaurants probably about 6 years ago, which are just really nice mixes of good things that don't include alcohol. There's lots of people that just don't include alcohol anymore. So, and then of course we have an amazing wine list, and of course quite a few bubblies, which go along with the oysters.
I'm a big fan of bubblies.
Yeah, me too.
I admit.
I do too.
Let's talk about, because you made a comment before about, walleye.
Yep.
And walleye being like a Michigan fish.
Yes, it is.
Where else do you source your inventory from? Is it just all Michigan, or are you do you get some flown in from the West Coast, from the East Coast? How does that work?
Well, I think we get a little bit of, we don't get shrimp from here, so I know that shrimp comes, I want to say Vietnam, to be honest.
Okay.
I think that's where most of our shrimp comes from. This is probably, the purchasing part is probably what I don't know 100% about it, but I know all of our fish comes from Michigan. Our whitefish, our perch, our walleye. And then whenever we have a feature or a special and we do like rainbow trout, it's all Michigan, all Michigan fish.
If somebody was coming here for the first time, what would be like a dish, maybe 2 dishes that you would recommend that people try?
I would say have the clam chowder. Our wedge salad is amazing. There's an ingredient in the dressing that I can't reveal, but it's amazing. I have it every time. Of course, you should try some oysters, just even if you have to just give it a try for a couple. Let's see. I'm a fish lover, so I always love the perch. I'm a big perch lover. But I'll eat anything. And then, like, if you've never had a seafood boil before, you should experience it, because, it takes a long time to prep all that and put it together and get the timing right. And we've got it all figured out here. So.
And then, so the next question I got for you is, because you mentioned like extensive wine menu. So do you get good chunk of your wines from inside of Michigan?
We get our wines from all over. I mean, at Sanchez, we focus more on like Spanish and Argentine and things like that. But from here, we do have some Michigan wines. We've had Michigan wines at all 3 of our restaurants that sell really well. People like Rieslings. But we get wine from everywhere, from California to the East Coast to Malbecs, from Spain, all over. So our wine is very
So
diverse.
it's a global.
It's global, for sure, global.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so the question I got for you is, Cindy, if somebody's listening to this and they want to check out more about the Beacon Corner Bar,
Mm-hmm.
what would be, what's your website? How can people find you? Socials?
Sure. I mean, it's just Beacon Corner Bar that you could go to go to our website, and you can see our full menu. You can see our hours of operation. You can see our features, like what we do for special happy hours or days of the week, or we're doing like a brunch punch right now, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you come in and get lunch, you get a punch, and then on the 6th one, you get it free.
Well, you kind of clenched your fist when you said punch there.
I'm punching in my head. I'm punching. That's what I was doing there. So like on the piece of your little card. So yeah, I mean it's always a challenge in the culinary field to build people's trust and I'm going to try that, and get here and just get here. So and then just to come back. So so many restaurants fail, and we haven't failed yet. So we're
you're
pretty
not
proud
going
of
to fail.
ourselves.
I'm an optimist. You're not going to fail. Cindy, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, Cliff. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And for our audience, you can always roll on over to Total Michigan, click on Cindy's interview, and get the links that she mentioned before. We'll see you next week when we talk to another Michigander doing some pretty extraordinary things. We'll see you then.